This is the video for lesson number 28, Graphing Special Lines, Horizontal and Vertical. Lesson objective. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to graph a horizontal and vertical line. You will identify the slope and y-intercept values of these linear functions. So let's take a look at the top of your worksheet. Notice there is a line that is graphed here. Okay? And this is a horizontal line, so we haven't come across any of these in class just yet. It says, what is the slope of the line shown at the right? Remember that in order to find the slope, we can pick any 2 points that are on the line and see what the rise over run is. So if I use these 2 points that are plotted, and I start here, how much do we rise to get to the next point? In this example, we wouldn't rise anything. We rise 0. But if I ask you how much we run, we go across to the right, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times. So my slope here is 0 over 8. If you use your calculator for this, 0 divided by 8, remember, really just equals 0. So we could say that the slope is 0. Now I'm sure you're wondering, what if we picked 2 different points? It really doesn't matter which 2 points you pick on the line to find the slope. So I could use this point and say one over here. So if I follow the same pattern of how much do I rise and how much do I run, if I start here, I rise nothing. So that's 0 over, and I run 1, 2, 3 to the left, which really is equivalent to -3. If I use this fraction or this division problem and I divide 0 divided by -3, we still end up with 0. Therefore, we can conclude that the slope of this line is 0. Okay? So this is our m value. We know that the slope of this line is 0. Remember that in order to write an equation of a line, we also need to determine the y-intercept. This line crosses the y-axis right here, and that would be at the point or the ordered pair 0, 4. So from this, we can say that the y-intercept, or that value of b, is equal to 4. Once we have our slope and our y-intercept, we can fill out our equation to write the equation of this specific line. So can you write the equation of this line? Remember, this really stands for y equals mx plus b. We know what m is, and we know what b is. So for m, our slope, we got 0. So y equals 0x. And our b value, our y-intercept, occurs at 4. So I will fill out 4. So this means we can write the equation of this line as, notice we don't really need the 0x, because if we have 0 of something, we don't need to write it. So this just comes down to y equals 4. So the equation of this line is just y equals 4. So this is a horizontal line, and here is our equation. Let's check this in our calculator. Remember, we can go to y equals, clear anything else that might be there, and if I put in 4, I can go to my graph, and here it is, y equals 4, a horizontal line crossing the y-axis at 4. If I go to my table, I can see that no matter what my x values are, my y value is always 4. So this is the equation of a horizontal line. All horizontal lines will always be y equals just a number. Please copy that down. All horizontal lines also have a slope of 0. There's 0 slope, there's no steepness, it's not slanted at all. So we will always get 0 for the slope. And another detail to remember is that your horizontal line will always cross the y-axis. So this is one of our special lines, horizontal. When you're ready, let's take a look at vertical lines. So this line is vertical. Let's do the same thing we did before, and let's try to find the slope, our m value. Remember, we can pick any 2 points we want. So let's pick this one and this one, which are already marked, And let's see how much we rise and how much we run. So if I want to get from this point up above to the point below, I have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the rise would be considered -5 over. Now once I go down 5, do I need to run in any direction? No. So we run 0 amount. Do you remember what it means to have a number divided by 0? Let's double check it in our calculator. -5 divided by 0. We get this error message. Do you remember what it means to get an error message when you divide by 0? If you said undefined, you are correct. Okay, let's pick another 2 points. Maybe you aren't convinced. If I were to go from this point to this one down here, up here, sorry, I would rise 2, and I would run nothing because I'm already at the point. 2 divided by 0 would also give me that error message, which remember means undefined. So the slope of a vertical line is undefined. Some of you may have remembered Slope Dude from last year. He would fall down that cliff and he would yell, undefined! So that is the slope of a vertical line. The second part, we need to figure out the y-intercept. So, where does this line, this vertical line, cross the y-axis? Does it ever cross the y-axis? No. So there is no y-intercept. Okay, it never crosses the y-axis. So if we relate this back to y equals mx plus b, remember in order to write the equation of a line, we need to know the slope and the y-intercept. But in this example, we don't have a slope, it's undefined, and there's also no y-intercept. So this is a very, very special line. We are going to use the letter x equals 2. Okay, and I'll explain this one in just a moment. So when you have a special line and it's vertical, remember that up above, our horizontal line started with y equals just a number. A vertical line is the opposite, and you will always have x equals some number. In this example, I knew it was x equals 2 because it crosses the x-axis at this point here, which is positive 2. No matter which point I take a look at, the ordered pair will always start with 2. For example, this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 5. This one is 2, 4, and so on. So the x value is always 2. The slope of a vertical line is undefined, and a vertical line will always cross the x-axis. So please copy this down. Pause if you need to. So we just learned some important details about a horizontal line and a vertical line. Now it may be kind of tricky to help remember all of these details, but I'd like you to take a look at this cartoon here. Pause the video and take a moment to read this over. So here we have this cartoon. This man is saying, "Oi, vux!" Okay, and these two special words can help you remember the equation and slope of horizontal and vertical lines. A horizontal line has 0 slope, and it's y equals a number for your equation. That is why he says oi, or hoi. Then vux, V stands for vertical lines, U stands for undefined slope, and a vertical line will always have x equals some number for the equation. So try to remember these two words, oi and vux. It might be a good idea to also add these to your note box. So horizontal, we will think of oi. Vertical, let's remember the word vux. So oi and vux can tell us a whole lot. On the back of your page now, we are going to graph these equations. Remember that these are the equations of special lines. So letter A. I see that it is equal to x equals some number. So if I think back to my two keywords, oi and vux, they are going to help me graph this. So since this is x equals a number, I'm going to use the one that has the x in it. Therefore, this is telling me that x equals a number will be a vertical line, and my slope will be undefined, which means it should be vertical, just like this. So to graph this, I know you may have been using your calculator for the other ones, but the calculator only has a y equals button. So if there's no x equals button, then we cannot use our calculator to graph this one. We are simply going to do this. Go to -5 on your x-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be right here, and put a point. Then, since my keyword vux reminds me to make a vertical line, I can simply make a vertical line going through that point, make arrows, and there you have it. This is the line for x equals -5, and label it. So remember, there's no way to check this using your calculator since there's no x equals button. Let's go to letter B. Letter B, I see, has the letter y. So I am going to use my phrase oi because it has the letter y in it. Oi tells me that it's going to be a horizontal line which has 0 slope. So here's what I do. I take -3 and I go to -3 on the y-axis. So I start at the origin, -3 would be down here. And then, remember, my keyword reminds me to make a horizontal line. And horizontal goes like this. So I only need to make 1 point for these special lines, and then I know how my line should look. There you go. And we label it. So since this equation does start with y equals, if you use your calculator, you should be able to put this into y equals and double check that this is what your line looks like. So I'm going to do that now. If I go to my graph, I can see it's a horizontal line crossing the y-axis at -3. If I were to just take a peek at my table, I see that my y value, no matter what the x value, will always be -3. Okay? And that is how you graph a vertical and horizontal line. I'd like you to try on your own now letters C, D, E, and F. Think about your two keywords, oi and vux, so they can help you graph them and remind you of what your line should look like, and use your notes from the front of this page. So please pause the video and graph the 4 on your own. Okay, here are the answers once you've tried them for C, D, E, and F. Please do not go on until you've tried them on your own. Letter C started with y equals, so that's my oi. I've made a horizontal line going through 6 on the y-axis, arrows, and label. Letter D was a vertical line because it was x equals a number. Think of the word vux. I go to 4, +4 on the x-axis, and make a vertical line going through it. So this is what your graph should look like for x equals 4. Letter E was y equals a number. That's a horizontal line. Oi, h, horizontal. I go to -1 on the y-axis and make a horizontal line going through it. Arrows and label. Remember, you can check the y equals equations using your calculator. Those are the only ones that you can check. X equals 3. Think of the word vux. Reminds me it's a vertical line. Go to 3 on the x-axis and make a vertical line going through it. So that wraps up tonight's lesson on horizontal and vertical lines. Please come into class tomorrow with any questions or comments you may have about these two special equations. Thank you.